Greetings, greetings YouTube. It's me, Shake, and I'm at your service. And the topic of today's video is going to be about the wage gap. Feminists often claim that women are discriminated in the workforce by referring to the wage gap that exists between male and female workers. Uh, this article really, if not disprove if not disproves it, but at least it does give and leave out a possibility that whatever wage gap that does exist could exist due to other factors other than gender. In this article, sorry about that. In this article, we basically see how the 77 how the gap of women receiving 77 cents for every dollar a man earns. We see how it gets trashed in this article, and I really wanted to share this article with you all. In this article is by a woman named Christina Hoff Somers. She basically talks about how when AAUW, which is an organization that stands for American Association of University Women. So, in this paragraph, we basically read the following, and you can read along with me if you like. The AAUW has now joined ranks with serious economists who find that when you control for relevant differences between men and women, occupations, college majors, length of time in workplace, the wage gap narrows to the point of vanishing. The 23% gap is simply the average difference between the earnings of men and women employed full-time. What is important is the adjusted wage gap, the figure that controls for all of the relevant variables. That is what the new AAUW study explores. The AAUW researchers looked at male and female college graduates 1 year after graduation. After controlling for several factors, though some were left out, as we shall see, they found that the wage gap narrowed to only 6.6 cents, and that's with leaving some variables out and only controlling for several factors, though, as Christina Somers points out, some were left out. I'm not going to read the whole article to you guys. I'll post it in the description section, but one of the reasons why, and basically, Christina Summers mentions like more than one point on how even if there is a gender wage gap, one of the reasons could be, like for example, one of the best studies, reading this paragraph here, one of the best studies on the wage gap was released in 2009 by the U.S. Department of Labor. It examined more than 50 peer-reviewed papers and concluded that the 23-cent wage gap may be almost entirely the result of individual choices being made by both male and female workers. In the past, women's groups have ignored or explained away such findings. In other words, feminism is based upon lying crap. So even assuming that, okay, because this is a more, the research that was done over here is a more was a more controlled study. This was not so much of a controlled study, hence why you had the 23-cent wage gap. And in this more controlled study, you had a wage gap of only 6.6 cents. And even assuming that, okay, that the wage gap is 23 cents rather than 6.6 cents, it still does not prove any form of gender discrimination against women, since for all we know, that this 23-cent wage gap, and I repeat, may be almost entirely the result of individual choices being made by both male and female workers. For all we know, it could just be that the reason why there is any wage gap is because of the individual choices made by both male and female workers. And this is not the only possibility. Going back to the more control study that led to the 6.6 cent wage gap, AAUW, okay, check this sentence out. The AAUW notes that part of the new 6.6 wage gap may be owed to women's supposedly inferior negotiating skills, not unscrupulous employers. So, for all we know, um, the wage gap, as we can see, ranges from 4.8 to 7 cents. According to another study, 6.6 cents. And according to one of the best studies done by the U.S. Department of Labor in 2009, that says 23 cents. Still does not, and again I repeat, does not prove any form of gender discrimination, since there are other variables that may indeed work to create such a gender gap that has nothing to do with a person's gender. Individual choices could be almost the entire reason why such a gap exists, or for all we know, the entire reason why any gap may indeed exist. And it could also, and speaking of inferior negotiating skills, I recall Man Woman Myth making a video where he was discussing the wage gap and how men actually do have more better negotiating skills when it comes to wage rates and pay as compared to women. So for all we know, that could be a significantly contributing factors on why there is a wage gap between men and women, assuming if there is even one to begin with. Now, on this page, the 10 most common feminist myths, one of the myths this article talks about is the myth that women earn 75 cents for every dollar a man earns. Well, some say 75, some say 77, some say 80. That's probably, difference of numbers is probably due to the inconsistency on the part of the feminists. But the fact of the matter is that the 75-cent figure is terribly misleading. This statistic is a snapshot of all current full-time workers. It does not consider relevant factors like length of time in the workplace, education, occupation, and the number of hours worked per week. Now, after that, the author puts like a set of parenthetical notes where he states the experience gap is particularly large between older men and women in the workplace. And based on one study I was reading, experience can play a significant role in how much a person is paid. Going back to this section of the article. When economists do the proper controls, the so-called gender wage gap narrows to the point of vanishing. And the author also provides his source of citation. The source that he uses is basically as he it's the what he calls essential reading, and the title of this reading is "Women's Figures: An Illustrated Guide to the Economic Progress of Women in America." It's by Diana Forshgott-Roth and Christine Stolba, published by the Independent Women's Forum and the American Enterprise Institute, Washington D.C. 2000. I'm gonna post the links of this article and even this. Interestingly, there are also a number of jobs where women actually out earn men. I'll also post a link to this as well. I'm probably going to go over this just briefly. One of the jobs that where women out earn men is that of teacher assistants, and it says here, female teacher assistants earn 105% as much as male peers. Wow. I wonder what the feminists will have to say about that. Well, but they probably wouldn't care. And over here it says, although men are 48% of all dining room attendants and bartender helpers, women earn 111% more. If you want, and personally, I will also post a link to this as well in the description section for further reading if anybody's interested. I personally think that giving one example was enough. And Angry Harry, one of my favorite MRAs, actually has an article where he talks about how the UK is subsidizing pregnant women, meaning when women get pregnant, and not only do they have the chance to leave the workforce, but they if such a law is passed, I'm not sure if the UK has passed this law or not, but if the UK passes this law, then the UK government will basically will pay women for their pregnancy time period at home. Go figure. Like, so, wow. Subsidizing pregnant women. I'm also going to post a link to this for any of you interested in reading. Seems like an interesting article. I understand what Angry Harry means when you say this is madness. Pregnant women are not ill, they are not victims. And what we have going on here is yet another ripoff by the women of the taxpayer. Funny. Another article that talks about jobs where women earn more than men. I will also post this in the description section as well. Female dental hygienists earn 8% more than their male counterparts, according to online salary database payscale.com. Many of the jobs in which women earn more than men are either female-dominated jobs or extremely male-dominated jobs. Facilities director women have a pay above men by 9%. IT network engineer women have a pay above men 5%. Yes, I'll also post a link to this as well for all of you to look at. And finally, this article on the National Coalition for Men page. Basically discusses Dr. Warren Farrell's book called Why Men Earn More. And I really highly suggest that you watch Dr. Warren Farrell's lecture on the subject as well. I'll also post a link to it in the description section. And let me also go to my YouTube history to see if I can find this video lecture of Dr. Warren Farrell's that I'm actually talking about here. Let's see where I can find it. Dr. Warren Farrell. Ah, here it is. Okay, so this is the title. As you can see, Why Men Earn More. 1, because this is part 1. The Startling Truth Behind the Pay Gap. It's by Argus Eyes. The username is ARGUSEYES. I've actually subscribed to him, so please do subscribe to his channel as well. It's quite good. So I highly recommend every single one of you watching this video of mine to please listen to all the 8 parts of Dr. Warren Farrell's lecture. It's really good. In fact, in this lecture, Dr. Warren Farrell actually talks about how there are 90 different occupations where women actually out-earn men. Now, going back to this article here, it says, read the book, men don't always earn more. In fact, many women start at higher earnings than men for doing the same work. Is there really a quote-unquote pay gap? Another point that needs to be considered is basically the point that I'm going to read here from this article, which says the quote-unquote pay gap only exists because men work far more hours at high-stress jobs they hate with the longer commutes, less flexibility, more physical risk, etc., just to be breadwinners and feed their families, only to die younger and get bashed for quote-unquote earning more. Wow, female corporate directors now out-earn their male counterparts. Farrell also lists dozens of careers, including fields of science where women out-earn men, fields where there is a real pay gap and women still retain the same choices to opt in and out. Women simply have more options than men to be primary parents, and many of them exercise that option rather than work long, stressful hours. That is why 57% of female graduates of Stanford and Harvard left the workforce within 15 years of entry into the workforce. This is also another link. This is also another article of which I'm going to post a link to. And I also want to read this paragraph since it talks about the whole idea of considering different variables. As I shall read now. In Why Men Earn More, Warren Farrell, PhD, examined 25 career life choices men and women make. Hours, commute times, etc., that lead to men earning more and women having more balanced lives. And that showed how men in survey prioritize money while women prioritize flexibility, shorter hours, shorter commutes, less physical risk, and other factors conducive to their choice to be primary parents, an option men still largely don't have. That is why never married childless women out earn their male counterparts. And again I repeat, female corporate directors now out earn their male counterparts. I do apologize for a bit of the redundancy in this video, but sometimes I repeat something more than once to basically drive it home. And I hope you understand what I mean by that. And according to another research, this is hyperlinked also. The texts that are like brown, they're hyperlinks, so you can not only benefit from this article, but also go to other articles that may discuss the subject in more further detail. Research advisors found that 147 of the 150 largest U.S. cities, the median full-time salaries of unmarried childless women under 30 was 8% higher than those of men in their peer group. For Atlanta and Memphis, women in their peer category earned 20% more than men. Honestly, feminism is just full of so much. Honestly, I have more respect for fart noises than feminism, because fart noises, fart basically is smelly, disgusting, and it goes away. But feminism is not only smelly and disgusting, but apparently it does not go away as quickly. The level of crap and propaganda that feminism actually spews is from its mouth is honestly so inferior that I would rather hear fart noises as compared to rubbish feminist ranting. That's it for today. See you guys next time.